Hello everyone. I'm super happy to welcome everyone today at the Twitter space that we are doing. I'm Helena, I'm DevRel at Hacken, and I'm gonna be moderating today. So today we have an AMA about the prediction markets and the security and tendencies for the prediction markets. Just a quick reminder that we are doing a reward for two best comments with the questions to our speakers today, who are gonna be Merv from FORE Protocol and Seher from Hacken. So feel free to jot any questions that you have in the comments under the publication on our Twitter, and we'll make sure to get those questions asked. But anyways, we have a couple of things to discuss before we are gonna be asking the questions that you are thinking about right now. And so let's just do the quick round of introductions. Seher, can you start with a quick intro about you, as we are from Hacken, and then we pass on to the FORE Protocol co-founder Merv.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I am Seher, and I'm doing smart contract audits and security research at Hacken and making sure Web3 is a safe place. I've been conducting security audits in mostly Solidity and Viper, and I was also the assistant auditor of the FORE Protocol audit that we are going to discuss today.
Great, and we have Merv from FORE Protocol.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you today. My name is Merv. I'm a co-founder at FORE Protocol. My background is in traditional finance, actually. So I've been working in the hedge fund and private equity industries for the last 15 years, and most recently have been focused on building in the blockchain and Web3 space for the last 3 years or so, and have been responsible for bringing FORE to market, FORE Protocol to market with a great team, behind us, and working with Hacken as well. So excited that we have such a large group here on the phone, and looking forward to getting into the content with you all.
Thank you so much. That's super great to have you all here. We at Hacken, we do Web3 security and audits, and it was a pleasure to collaborate with FORE Protocol. So, Mer, can you start with a quick introduction to FORE Protocol and FORE Predict? How does it work? What role does it play in enabling users to participate and profit in the industry? What are the advantages and what are the unique features that you have about your product? Just get us all of the highlights.
Yeah, sure, I'd be happy to. So FORE Protocol is really the first product of its kind in that it's a prediction market that is fully decentralized and managed by the community. So there are opportunities on FORE Protocol, and specifically for Predict, which is the prediction market angle of FORE Protocol, for users to create their own prediction market, and be incentivized to do so. And there are a variety of incentive structures, which I'm sure we'll get into. But users are also able to participate in other users' prediction markets. So let's say an example of a prediction market might be, will the price of Bitcoin be above 30,000 as of a certain date? So if I create that market, I'm able to earn a percentage of all the contributions to that market. And also other users are able to participate on the platform, in the markets that you create and in the markets of others. So it's basically a very creative take on a decentralized marketplace for predictions. But another really special angle of FORE Predict is the fact that users are able to validate the outcomes of these markets. So let's say in the example that we provided, there are actually a network of validators on FORE Protocol that can go and determine what the actual price was of Bitcoin after the fact. And then the smart contract is essentially settled based on that decentralized process of settlement and validation. So it's very unique in that it is fully decentralized. Every step of the way users are able to generate rewards that are denominated in the FORE token, which is available currently on MEXC and on Uniswap if you're interested. But basically, it's a self-contained, fully decentralized ecosystem for predictions in a way that really has not existed before.
Love it. I'm personally super interested about the prediction markets. I think I've been researching it for a while, just trying to understand where the industry goes, because it seems like this is something that really engages the users, right? And how does FORE Predict allow the users to create the predictions that are related to the real world outcomes? And how does it all work? Walk us through the flow, how it's all done, how the users participate.
Yeah, it's a really good question. So the users have three ways to participate. Users can create prediction markets, and I'll walk through how this all works in a second. But users are able to create prediction markets. They're able to participate in other users' prediction markets, and they're able to validate the outcomes of prediction markets on the platform. So each of these different roles have different incentive structures, right? So if you create a market on FORE Predict and you have 100 FORE tokens that are participated on both sides of your market, you're going to earn a percentage of the total contributions of that market. So you have an incentive to get as many people participating in your market relative to everyone else. And that is a really unique way to incentivize participation and to get more users into the ecosystem. On the participation side, we call this side of the market the player. So essentially, players are more likely to want to essentially take a stand on one outcome relative to another. So maybe they want to go through and they're interested in crypto, and they want to take, let's say, one side of an Ethereum market, and they want to say, you know what, I think that the price of Ethereum is going to moon over the course of the next 3 weeks. Here's this prediction market that basically captures my view, and I'm going to vote yes, and I'm going to buy 4 tokens, and I'm going to stake those behind, or I'm going to put those behind the outcome that I think is most likely. So in that case, when that market is settled, the user benefits from a smart contract that's settling this wager, essentially, right? This market in a fully decentralized peer-to-peer way. So there's no third party that is holding funds. There's no bookmaker that's basically sitting there and determining what the odds are. The odds are determined by the marketplace, and the market settles, the transactions entirely. And so that is really the key thing in terms of how it's unique and how it's special from a participation angle. The last side is the validation of these markets. So on FORE Predict, users can mint validator NFTs. These validator NFTs accumulate value over time as you validate more markets correctly. So it creates an incentive, once again, where a portion of the entire market participation, right? So all the FORE tokens that are participated in this market, a portion of those go to the validators as well. So in order to validate a market, we basically have these people who stake their NFTs on the appropriate outcome, and then that's how the markets are settled. Now, and we spent a lot of time working with Hacken and others, really thinking through some edge cases. But you might ask, well, what if someone is a bad actor and wants to settle a market in the wrong side? And that's a great question. Well, in that case, there's a dispute resolution process where anyone who participated in one of these prediction markets can raise a dispute on the outcome that was validated, which ultimately essentially escalates that market to a decentralized pool of we call it the high guard, but it's essentially referees or super validators who have an on-chain track record of success and have done so in kind of a decentralized way and kind of can manage that. And we've also worked to integrate external partnerships with UMA, for example, UMA Protocol, which many of you may be familiar with, to have even a third line of defense to ensure decentralization and to ensure that we have a full and accurate ecosystem of predictions. So I'll pass it back to you and the Hacken team to kind of get into probably some of the smart contract and technical aspects of the implementation, but that's essentially the different roles of the ecosystem.
Indeed, that's a great way to bring Web3 to the prediction markets, just introducing the decentralized validations and decentralized way of implementing this kind of process, just so it's transparent and so every participant can be sure about the results and can be sure about the outcomes, so that it actually is a true prediction market where you participate and you get your rewards. So yeah, that's gonna be probably my next question. Since it's all decentralized, it definitely involves a lot of blockchain interactions and especially smart contracts development. So that's actually very interesting to learn more about the smart contracts. And so here, can you just dive deeper into the key findings and the recommendations from Hacken's audit that we've done over here at Hacken for FORE Protocol? What is the structure of the smart contracts and how was the report, and what's the current security level of FORE Protocol?
Of course. I remember we found a couple of criticals, highs, some mediums, and low issues, but mentioning all of the findings may not be possible as we have a limited time here. However, among the criticals, the most interesting one for me was I think, mishandled edge case issue. This generally is caused by the incorrect implementation of prediction verification logic. So it was like a logical issue, and in the FORE Protocol's prediction verification system, the market is considered verified if the verified amount on the larger side equals to the total amount of the smaller side. So we agreed on that this is not the best way, and we reported this issue. Consider, to explain it better, consider, for example, that we have two sides, side A and side B. Side A's weight is 10 and side B's weight is 1000. To verify side A, you need at least 1000 verification power. You will need at least 1000 verification power within the old logic. However, to verify the larger side, side B, to verify the side B, you only need 10 verification power. This can obviously lead to a manipulation of the outcome, because to verify the bigger size, you'll need less verification power. But that was, of course, fixed by the FORE Protocol team, and now it's working properly. Another concern is that a single verifier with a large amount of verification power can influence the verification outcome within the old logic. And now a market is considered verified if the verified amount on either side exceeds the total market size. So they changed the logic to that. Now you need at least the total market size, like the sum of both sides you need to verify a prediction market. And there were also like two denial of service issues in the critical section. One was about about just using some transfer from instead of transfer function. So these are probably like code issues, like technical issues. So I'm not sure if we need to go dive deep. And other than that, I can add that there were, a couple of requirement violation issues also were there in the high severity section. What is requirement violation issue? It is mostly caused when your requirements are not matched in the code. For us to detect these kind of issues, by the way, documentation is really important. Like you should document your project very well so that we can understand which requirements we need to check, like how the functionality needs to be implemented, etc. And then we can probably detect the issues related to requirement violation. So in conclusion, all of the critical and high issues are solved, like including medium, and I think most of the laws, maybe all of them, are solved, and now their security score is 10 within the general audit score of 9.8. So they got a really good security score.
Amazing. Yeah, that's actually super interesting that the audit is considered to be done and finalized only when all of the fixes are done, or we have the reports for each of the issues that the auditors found and mentioned. So this is something that we have to just appreciate from the FORE Protocol side, that they've done this long way of having the audit and then going through each of the reported issues and through each of the recommendations from the auditors to make sure the security requirements are all satisfied. So probably, Sahir, can you just give us a more detailed perspective on how the audit process worked and how did you do this audit? What was the team and what were the stages to just give a brief understanding for everyone here on how complicated and how thorough is this process of the security assessment and the security implementation.
Mm-hmm. Of course, usually we start audits with 3 people. An assistant auditor, lead auditor, and expert. Lead and assistant auditors, they work on the project. They detect the project's issues and they gather them. And experts does the last checks, and then we deliver the report. So I'll explain the parts of what assistant and lead auditors are usually doing. So we first of all, we really get to know the code, because we are not just looking, we are practically living in it. Like every line, every function, it's like reading the code's autobiography. For that, the first thing is to read the documentation, of course. So the documentation plays a vital role here to understand the intent, if the functionalities are working properly. But luckily, they provided us their white paper and docs that contains functional requirements at the beginning. So that was a good start. So after manual review, automated tools and testing methodologies are applied by us. We run automated tools, check the results, we write the unit and fuzzing tests and run them to check if something is broken. We are mostly receiving the projects with their tests written. However, it is important not to rely on them, because tests could be faulty, an auditor might overlook that check, and this can be tricky in that point. We also note and mark suspicious places in the code, or if a function, if contract smells, the function or a contract smells bad to auditors. In that case, we create some scenarios and execute them. If we detect any issue, we write them in the report. Since this was a prediction market, the first thing we had to look was that how is the verification logic was built. And of course, we discovered like a couple of things and reported them to the FORE Protocol. And I would like to add one more thing for investors or users. In our audit reports, we also add system overview and risk sections. So why I am mentioning this, because this can be helpful for non-tech people as well. As a non-technical person, you might not be able to understand what the code is doing, but you can just go and read the overview and risk sections, and you can invest or make decisions on the project, at least by knowing what the project is doing or which risks you're taking. Okay, so the other step is, since we mentioned this, the other step is gathering the findings and writing the reports. And after all the review and tests are done, we move it to the expert review, and then we start remediations. I mean, the client starts fixing the code, fixing the project, and they provide us new commits. And as I remember, we completed the audit with like several remediations because the communication between each part was strong, thankfully. So it didn't take like a lot of time. Yeah.
Indeed, that's I love your point about the risk section. I think that's something that is very helpful for anyone who just wants to get a brief understanding about the prediction markets and about the particular protocol, to just go and look at the risks, or to just go and look more in the perspective on what are the challenges, what are the potential risks that might be important for the users. So that's a question to both of you, Seher and Merv. What are the risks of the prediction markets? Let's just zoom out and take a look at the whole industry. How do you see the industry of prediction markets, both centralized and decentralized, which are obviously very different in their risks? What are those risks? What are those challenges? What do you see as something that is right now critical, or what might be emerging? And what's your opinion on that? Seher, can you start?
My opinion is, first of all, we can like explain a little bit what is centralized prediction markets or what is decentralized one, how they different from each other. In centralized prediction markets, the outcome of a market is determined, dictated by a central authority. So, like a traditional betting system where a bookmaker sets the odds and determines the winners, right? So the thing is, you're kind of putting your trust in the central entity to play fair. And as a risk, if their system goes down, or if they decide to play funny business, well, that could be a problem. So what is decentralized prediction markets? Here, you don't have to trust one centralized entity. The verification process can be handled by many verifiers. It's like more democratic, you could say, but and there is always a but. There are challenges too, of course. So not having a centralized authority is can be good for predictors, but it can also be a challenge, because in centralized setups, there is usually someone ready to take the other side of a bet. But in the centralized markets, there is no default players, like lack of liquidity. So lack of liquidity, this leads the majority of people to focus on more popular predictions, like the price of Bitcoin or the winner of a major election. for example, etc. Smaller or more specific predictions struggle to attract participants, making it hard to place large bets with substantial winnings. So the main issue here is the struggle to getting enough players with the right knowledge for diverse predictions, and additionally the lack of communication between blockchain networks like Avalanche, Polygon, since there are like different blockchains and they cannot interact each other easily. It is going to be hard to bring the predictions, bring the attendees together. It's going to be harder. And I'll mention the problems, but maybe I should add what can be the solution here. In my opinion, maybe creating ways for these prediction markets to interact across different blockchains, or concentrating liquidity and offering a better experience for big players can be the solution here. So yeah, these are my opinions. I would like to hear what FORE Protocol thinks about it.
Yeah, Sahar, I mean, I think you brought up some great points there, and a lot of those points, I think those are things that we've kind of discussed through the audit process overall. And while we're on the topic really quickly, I mean, I think Hacken, this conversation kind of illustrates the level of detail that Hacken kind of went into as part of the audit process, and they really had a great hand in shaping not only the smart contract logic and the specific technical aspects, but really asking high level questions about business logic like we're talking about here. And I think that's really special when it comes to an audit partner. So the question was, what are the unique challenges as it relates to prediction markets, both from a decentralized and also centralized perspective? And I agree with Sahar's kind of framework there, in terms of the question really is, what is the intention of that prediction market, and does it work the way it's intended? So to me, that's probably the largest challenge before we kind of get into the specifics about liquidity for each market. And the way that I kind of see that is, centralized prediction markets are imperfect because they are overly centralized. Right. And what I mean by that is that there's too much reliance on one single entity on the success of the entire ecosystem. Now, the reasons for that are plentiful, right? Because the rewards are plentiful for that single entity, right? So in maybe the traditional case, you can think about the casino. The house always wins. Why does the house always win? Because the house designs the game so that the house always wins. And so then the question kind of becomes, in a decentralized prediction market, how is that different and how is that better? Of course, there are pros and there are cons. It's better because when you have a decentralized ecosystem, right, the hope is when everyone is acting in their best interest, it benefits the overall ecosystem. And I think in terms of liquidity and overall, access to a variety of different types of prediction markets, it's a similar type of problem. It's an incentive problem. So the question really becomes, on FORE Protocol, how is it that we incentivize users to participate in these different roles, right? And so why would someone create a prediction market on FORE Protocol as opposed to maybe just going to a bookmaker or going to Polymarket, right, or another competitor? Well, the answer really there is, well, they have skin in the game, right? So they actually have participation in the upside. So if their market becomes very popular, then they earn more FORE tokens, right? So they have a greater reward. On the participation side, right, since there's no middleman, right, and since everything is basically settled through smart contract, there's no counterparty risk, where there's no centralized entity who's going to run off with, with the potential earnings. And so because it's settled and because everything is done through smart contract and peer-to-peer, there are also less transaction fees, and the fees overall of the transaction are seamless. So there are benefits, there, and there are incentives as well. And then finally, on the validator's perspective, you basically are validating outcomes, earning rewards along the way, and then it's accumulating onto this validator NFT, which can be sold onto the market, the NFT marketplace that exists on FORE Protocol. So all in all, it's an ecosystem that's incentivized for people to participate in the right way. And if they participate in the wrong way, there are disincentives as well. And I think it's important just to kind of lay out that, as long as people are acting in their best interests, that's another kind of critical lever for the ecosystem to kind of work properly. So I guess I'll hand it back to you, Sahar, or in terms of either additional comments or thoughts there. But that's sort of how we thought about it.
Yeah, Sahar, if you have anything to add more about what are generally the current trends in the prediction market security within the Web3, I think that would be very valuable for us to just learn more about this, because um, it's very interesting to observe how the industry evolves and how there is more security practices emerging. So maybe you had any interesting thoughts while doing the audit, and maybe you've had any interesting observations on what are the recent thoughts and opinions on how to make the best security possible within the smart contracts that are involved into the prediction markets. Just feel free to share that to share those thoughts with us.
Mhm. To be honest, FORE Protocol was the first audits regarding prediction markets. I think we don't see them like a lot, like they mentioned. There are no many prediction markets right now, but I can like give my opinion, and of course there are like additional types too, but I think this is prediction markets are still new, and I'm sure there will be more trends since Web3 is really fast, evolving really fast. So if I would like gather and mention my opinions, what would they be? Maybe like I can categorize them into like one, like DeFi integration. Maybe this like allows users to access prediction markets in a decentralized manner and like leverage assets from various DeFi protocols, or maybe like NFTs and unique market propositions. NFTs can be integrated in the prediction markets by offering like unique digital assets that represent certain outcomes, or a verifier like in FORE Protocol, right? It can be there can be liquidity incentives or yield farming implemented, or there can be cross-chain compatibility, like I mentioned about challenges, like liquidity challenges, and this can be maybe a solution. It can accept predictions from different markets, different networks, different chains, or we can just basically split the market into two types regarding the market creation, like markets that allow users to create their own specific prediction topics, or markets that the predictions are provided by the platform owner and users can only participate in the markets. This can be like general classifications, but I don't know, maybe FORE Protocol does know more types, or they already held a big research on that. So yeah.
Merv, actually, there is a great question from the audience that I just want to jot in here. So obviously, it's very interesting to know, like, do you have any current trends in mind that are concerning the security, and what are the specific market security tendencies? So one of the questions from the audience was, what was the biggest focus of the audit, and what was done to make sure that the NFT validation model can't be exploited? So maybe you can give us the perspective also on this. Was that the biggest audit, the biggest focus in terms of the security? Was that something that you focused on, and what do you do for this model security?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think as part of the audit process overall, I mean, we really went into detail into every aspect of the process as well as of the code. But to be honest, I would say, and maybe surprisingly, this is the answer that may surprise many of you, but uh, to be honest, a lot of the emphasis was making sure that the code, that the code and logic was working as intended. And obviously, there are many ways and many forms that takes, and unit tests are obviously a big part of that. But for us, we spent a lot of time just going through and really just making sure, okay, if this is a function that's adding two numbers, let's make sure that this is, in all cases, operating, exactly in a way that we're familiar and we know what the edge cases are. That's a very simple example, but when you think about it at a protocol level, the same logic applies, but it's just a lot more moving pieces. So that I think is one part of it, and it leads into the bigger question in terms of the NFT validation model. Um, one part of it is really grounding the NFT validation model in human behavior and what we know about just, cognitive science overall, right? And also what we know about economics, microeconomics. So when we kind of, we're thinking about what's the appropriate validation model, what makes sense here, we really did look to, those literature to kind of understand how do the crowds kind of typically behave in these types of, risk seeking, and risk averse types of environments. And so overall, when I kind of like look at the validation model, users are staking NFTs that they have, staked value to. And the value of those NFTs can increase a lot, right? If you're doing, the appropriate work of a validator, especially early on FORE Protocol. So it definitely benefits and behooves people to get involved early. But on the other side is if you're a malicious actor, that NFT is going to lose significant value, right? So the upside is much greater, compared to, basically, in other words, you can do a lot better in terms of the upside, as a good and productive person as part of the ecosystem, and that's what we're trying to drive people towards. On the downside is if you're actively trying to game the system, or if you're a malicious actor, well, it doesn't benefit to have that user on the ecosystem, right? And so the general ecosystem in a decentralized manner would decide, that user either maybe has a suspended NFT, can no longer participate, right, and et cetera. So that's the whole nature of a decentralized process, and having a decentralized community, that is and process that's essentially incentivizing the right participation, while trying to filter out the bad actors, and doing that in the cleanest, quickest, and most efficient manner.
Thank you for the perspective. That's something that I've just realized, that there's a great part of the All right, I hope I'm back. I think my internet was cutting off a bit. Thank you so much for the perspective on the human behavior. I think that's an interesting point to realize more how this is all just connected to the real people behind those prediction markets and real participants behind those decisions and those that they're doing. So probably the next question from the audience that I'll just ask more to you will be about the NFT analyst. So the question is, can you walk us through force validation model using NFT analysts as a decentralized oracle in more detail? What preventative measures are in place to ensure the accurate and unbiased result reporting, and how might this model scale as the number of markets and validation requests grow over the time? That's an interesting question that is actually resonating with what you said about the human behavior. So can you give us your perspective on this?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think it builds well upon the prior question. Essentially, the validators on FORE Protocol have the unique ability to mint validator NFTs and then stake those NFTs on one particular side of the prediction market. And that essentially is saying that they think that that outcome is the one that happened. So let's run through maybe a concrete example so everyone is kind of clear and on the same page. Let's assume that I create a prediction market on the price of FORE token, which is our ERC20 token, and that's available on MEXC and on Uniswap. You should definitely check it out if you're finding anything you're hearing here interesting. So maybe my prediction market is, will the price of FORE token exceed 20 cents by December 31st of this year? Okay. Now, that prediction market then gets posted on FORE Predict, which is the platform that users are able to access, and that'll be live next week. So right there, you'll be able to see my market as well as everyone else's markets. And then maybe Seher sees that and she says, you know what? Yeah, I think the price is going to be higher than 20 cents. And so what she does is she stakes her FORE tokens on the side yes, right? And I see there's a user here named Skywalker, and maybe Skywalker, maybe he or she thinks that the answer is no, and so stakes his or her FORE tokens on the no side of that market. So now we have two participants in this market. And so what happens after December 31st? That's really the question. So once the market passes the date of validation, the date of prediction, it goes into the validation phase. And what that means is the market essentially goes to a different page on FORE Predict, and users who have minted those FORE Predict NFTs, right, those validator NFTs, they can go and they look on CoinGecko or they look on Gecko Terminal and they see, okay, what was the price, as of that date? Did it go above 20 cents? And let's say the price after December 31st, just for the sake of example, is 25 cents. Well, then that means that the market the answer to the market is yes. And that means that Seher was correct, and that means that she gets paid out in the market, and the market is fully self-settling. So the validation process is this staking and the minting and staking of validator NFTs, and a portion of the total volume of that market is essentially paid out as rewards to the market creator and to the validators of that market. So if a validator incorrectly validates, let's say the price is above 20 cents and they stake on the no side, well, two things can happen. One is that particular validator would have their the value within their NFT slash after some period of time, right? And that is all a decentralized process and a community-driven process where the community kind of decides what that, what that is. And then on the other side is the user, let's say the market is fully validated, but it's incorrectly validated. Well, the participants in that market can raise a dispute, and basically the market will be reviewed by a fully trusted, again, decentralized group of validators, but have an on-chain track of, chain and track record of success. And so that's essentially how the overall process works. But to take a step back, like what's happening here? Essentially, what we're trying to do is take what happens in a centralized entity, and we're trying to decentralize each one of those steps. And by doing that, right, what we're trying to do is create the right incentives for people to act in the right way. So if you act in the right way on this platform, you have the opportunity to do really well. You earn a lot of rewards, right? And overall, that has to be, kind of in a decentralized, meritocratic, kind of platform. That has to be kind of like the starting point, and that's kind of what we believe from a philosophical standpoint. So if that's something that's interesting to you, I highly suggest that you all get involved in the FORE Predict mainnet is going to be live next week on November 30th. The token, FORE token, is live now on MEXC for centralized exchange, and on Uniswap on a decentralized exchange. So, if you're interested in prediction markets and particular decentralization and prediction markets, definitely something to check out.
Thank you. There's actually a question from the listeners that we've gotten in the comments for the Twitter space that we are doing right now that reads like this. It caught my attention that FORE Protocol is the first predictive marketplace to use non-fungible tokens to maximize extraction value for the users. So what should I do to start predicting? How many NFTs do I need to get started? Do I need to make KYC to participate? So, Maru, I think that's a great place to just run through the onboarding phase of things and just tell more to our listeners on how to get involved and what do they have to do, what steps would I have to take if I wanted to start predicting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, definitely go to our website and, and check out our documentation, kind of understand, how we do things differently and our overall approach. We have a large team that has been focused on bringing this, to you all. And but overall, the vision here is it's a decentralized, platform where, the overall community is really kind of running with this and driving with the future direction of kind of not only where FORE Predict ends up, but how the ecosystem kind of evolves as a whole. So we want to get as many people involved as possible, and so step one is check out our website, join our Telegram, our Discord, and our communities. Follow us on Twitter. X now, and that's definitely a good way just to kind of keep abreast of what's going on. Aside from that, if you like what you see and definitely want to participate, the FORE token is definitely the next place to check out. That's FORE, and the pair is FORE USDT. Again, it's on MEXC and Uniswap. Basically, the way that the FORE Predict platform works is you buy FORE tokens. Those tokens are, the currency that's used, the exchange, that the medium of exchange is kind of used in the platform. That allows users to create markets and participate in those markets, and also to mint validator NFTs. And since Hacken and your community obviously are going to be a lot of more technical users, I think that the validator side is going to be pretty interesting for this type of community. So what you're able to do you stake your FORE tokens and put them within the and lock them within the NFT. That basically creates the base for you to increase the value from there, right? So each time that you validate a market correctly, you earn a compound percent interest, or so essentially a compound return, and that compounds through time, and can potentially do quite well just from the rewards on that alone. So step one, definitely check out the token. It's FORE USCT on MEXC and on Uniswap, and you can find us on CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap everywhere else as well. So hopefully that's a good starting point for everyone.
Thank you. Totally. We also want to mention that we invite everyone to subscribe to our Twitter profile and to FORE Protocol Twitter to just follow through the updates and the news. So I think we have some time for a couple of more questions, and we've got a lot of different questions from the audience. So an interesting one, Merv, just to continue with the rewards and with the profit question of the things. Can you tell more about this? So the question is, the white paper states that 50% of fees are distributed to the users. Will fees be charged on, and will platform revenue flows will be transparent, and verification of the distributions made public to build the trust?
Yeah, it's such a good question. And the short answer is yes. So everything is on chain. FORE Predict and FORE Protocol as a whole is a Web3 application, which will be going live on Arbitrum on November 30th. So everything will be available on chain. You'll be able to track all the fund flows from from token minting all the way through to market settlement and the distribution of funds and rewards. So the general structure is 5% of market contributions are redistributed, and 2.5%, so half of those rewards are dedicated to validators of that market. Okay, so and that's basically distributed in proportion to the NFT power. So it's the size of the power of that NFT. So it incentivizes users basically to operate not only in the right way, but also to grow the power of their NFTs, which essentially dictates their staking power. So that's one part of it. 0.5%, so 0.5% of the total participation goes to the market creator, and so again that incentivizes the the market creator to basically increase the size of that market as much as possible. 1% goes to the protocol treasury, and 0.5%, which is the balance, is burnt. So it's essentially removed from circulation permanently. And in that way, when as there are more and more participation in these markets, you have greater deflationary effect in the tokenomics and the general supply of the token. So this is a utility token, of course, at the end of the day, but we do think that those supply-demand dynamics support the general functioning and utility of the platform, as well as create a further advantage for early participants, and general just people who are fans of the token and the platform overall. So it behooves people to get involved early, and it also behooves people to participate more and more in the platform. So we think that all of that leads to a good ecosystem of activity that solves and addresses some of the liquidity issues that Sahar kind of referred to earlier. So hopefully that gives kind of an overview in terms of the mechanics of that, but I'll hand it back to you now.
Thank you for the answer on this. Hopefully that was interesting to our audience, and I hope that this is gonna be interesting to try out and test for the listeners on our Twitter space today. And the last thing that we have for today's Twitter space is the rewards for the best questions. So we've had the 4 questions from the audience asked. Those were the one about the validation model, the one about the onboarding flow to the FORE protocol, and the one about the biggest focus of the audit and biggest focus of the FORE protocol in terms of the security, and the last one about the fees. Merv, can you choose one of these that was the best to get the reward? And Sahir, I'll get you an opportunity to choose your best question after the Twitter space, after you can check the questions that were asked.
That's a tough one. I think that they were all really good questions, and thanks everyone for not only submitting questions that are relevant, but taking the time to read through documentation and join us here. Yeah, I think anyone who is trying to join the FORE community and ask great questions in terms of how to do that, I really appreciate. So I'm going to go with the question related to onboarding into the FORE ecosystem. So hopefully that person joins us and joins our communities, and the same invitation goes out to everyone else. Please join our Telegram and Discord. Even if you're slightly curious, and you'll find it's a great, positive, and super creative and talented community of people who are building in the space. So thank you again, and thank you again for the time, everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Sahar, and thank you, Merv, for sharing your insights on the prediction markets and the security and the next steps for the FORE protocol. Hope that was interesting for everyone. Just make sure to leave us the comments about the Twitter space. How was that? And if you enjoyed it, and if you had any questions to ask, I think we'll have our speakers to come and check the comments maybe once to see if there's anything else to address. And of course, follow us on Twitter and on other social media. Join to FORE Protocol Discord, join to Hacken Discord and Hacken Twitter, and any other profiles that we have. That was super lovely to get all of these insights on the Twitter space, and I hope everyone will have the great rest of the day over there on your end of the world.
Thank you all for joining.
Thanks, everyone.
The space.
Bye.
Bye bye.